Right now, without realizing it, you just did it again. Maybe you tapped your fingers. Maybe you checked your phone for no reason. Maybe you scratched the back of your neck or glanced at the door or bounced your leg under the table. You didn't decide to do any of that. Your body just did it. And if someone asked you why, you'd probably say you were just restless or bored, or it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. That small, automatic, seemingly pointless behavior you just performed. It has a name, it has a function, and it has been running in your nervous system for at least 300,000 years. Possibly longer. The real answer is far stranger than restlessness. Here is what you actually just did. Your nervous system ran a scan, not a conscious one, not a deliberate one. A scan so old and so deep in your biology that it happens below the threshold of your awareness. It checked your environment. It checked your body. It checked for threats, for changes, for anything that didn't belong. And when it found nothing alarming, it released just enough motor energy to signal that the scan was complete. You call it fidgeting. Science calls it displacement behavior. And it is one of the most ancient, universal, and misunderstood things a human body can do. Dr. Andrew Gallup at SUNY Polytechnic Institute spent years studying self-touching behaviors in humans. The kind where you scratch your face, rub your arm, tap your collarbone, or press your fingers together for no obvious reason. What he found collapsed the idea that these behaviors are meaningless. They are not random. They are not signs of weakness or anxiety. They are, in his words, a thermoregulatory and neurological reset. A built-in system your body uses to recalibrate itself when the nervous system is running too hot. Think about what that means for a second. Your body has a cooling mechanism, not just for temperature, for cognitive and emotional overload. And fidgeting is one of the ways it runs. Now go back further, much further. 300,000 years ago, your ancestors did not sit at desks. They did not wait in line at airports. They did not stare at screens for 9 hours. But they absolutely fidgeted. Every primate fidgets. Every mammal fidgets. Watch a dog waiting for food. It shifts its weight, paws the ground, turns in a half circle, turns back. Watch a chimpanzee during a moment of social tension. It grooms itself, picks at its fingers, scratches its chest. These are not random movements. They are a communication system between the body and the brain. Ethologist Nicholas Tinbergen, who won the Nobel Prize in 1973 for his work on animal behavior, identified displacement activities as a core feature of nervous system regulation in animals under conflict. When an animal faces two competing drives, approach and flee, fight and submit, and neither one wins, the nervous system doesn't freeze. It redirects. It executes a low-cost, irrelevant behavior to burn off the tension. A bird about to fight another bird will suddenly start preening its feathers. A fish facing a territorial rival will abruptly start digging in the sand. You facing a high-stakes conversation you don't want to have suddenly start picking at the corner of your thumbnail. Same mechanism, same age, same nervous system. This is where it gets strange. Because if this behavior is so ancient, so universal, so deeply wired, why have you spent your entire life being told to stop? Think back. Sit still. Stop fidgeting. Pay attention. Don't tap your fingers. Hands in your lap. Eyes forward. Every classroom. Every dinner table. Every waiting room where someone gave you a look. The entire modern world has been at war with one of your most fundamental biological functions. And the research says that war has a cost. In 2015, psychologist Cian Beilock at the University of Chicago published findings on what happens to the brain when embodied movement is suppressed. What she found was that movement, including small self-directed movement, is not a distraction from thinking. It is part of thinking. Your body is not a vehicle for your brain. Your body is part of your brain's processing system. The hand movements you make when you explain something, the pacing you do when you're trying to solve a problem, the leg bouncing you do when you're concentrating hard, these are not distractions. They are cognitive tools. When you stop them, you don't think more clearly. You think less clearly. There is a reason some of the most focused people you've ever met have a habit they can't explain. The person who always has a pen, they click. The person who knots a rubber band around their wrist. The person who draws spirals in the margins of their notebook during meetings. These are not signs of distraction. They are signs of a nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do. Now here is the part no one tells you. The specific behaviors your body chooses are not random either. Research on self-soothing behaviors, a category that includes rocking, stroking, rhythmic tapping, and humming, shows that these movements activate the vagus nerve, the long wandering nerve that connects your brainstem to your gut and regulates your parasympathetic nervous system. In other words, your calm down system. When you rock slightly in your chair, when you tap a steady rhythm with your fingers, when you rub your own arm, you are stimulating the same nerve pathway that a mother's touch activates in an infant. You are, in a very literal biological sense, soothing yourself. Your body learned this before you were born. Fetuses rock inside the womb. Premature infants in NICUs who receive rhythmic touch show faster neurological development and lower cortisol levels than those who don't. The need for self-directed rhythmic movement is not something you learned. It is something you arrived with. And 300,000 years ago, when a member of your ancestral group sat at the edge of a fire at night, scanning the darkness, waiting, they rocked slightly. They tapped. They ran their fingers over the same smooth stone they always carried in their hand. Because their nervous system was doing exactly what yours is doing right now, managing the gap between the world it expects and the world it finds. That is what fidgeting actually is. Not distraction, not anxiety, not childishness. It is your nervous system managing uncertainty. It is your body staying alert without burning itself out. It is an ancient system, older than language, older than agriculture, older than any civilization that ever told you to sit still, running quietly in the background, keeping you calibrated. Dr. Roland Rotz, who spent decades researching movement and attention, put it plainly. For a significant portion of the human population, movement is not the enemy of focus. Movement is the prerequisite for focus. The nervous system needs a motor outlet to stay in a regulated, attentive state. Remove the outlet, and the attention degrades. Add it back, and the attention returns. Which means every person who was told to sit still and pay attention may have been told the exact opposite of what their brain actually needed. This doesn't mean there are no contexts where stillness matters. It means the assumption that stillness equals focus, that calm hands mean a calm mind, that a body in motion is a mind at rest, was always backwards. Your body knew this. It has known it for 300,000 years. The fidget is not a flaw in your design. It is the design. And the next time your fingers start moving on their own, your leg starts bouncing under the table, your hand reaches up to touch your face for no reason you can name, you don't have to stop. Your nervous system is not broken. It is scanning, it is calibrating, it is doing what it has always done. Right now, without realizing it, you're going to do it again. And now you'll know exactly what it means.